All right. Good evening, everyone. I'll let some folks get in here. I see that there's the room is still people are kind of wandering in. Thank you all for attending our college essay do's and don'ts tonight. There's a poll that's been launched here. If you want to give us a little bit of information, what brought you here, and and what your what your relationship is to the college process. We'll get here. We're already getting a good head turnout here. I like that. So my name is Matt Kiesner. I'll be providing the your MC for for our guest here. But it's really going to be about the WoW writing workshop, and Susan is going to be our star for sure. Um, there we go. All right. So as always, without Bruce, our why, we change students' self-beliefs, change their lives, and things we do academic tutoring, and that might be important for your families with juniors who are getting towards that really important exam season and final and final exams. We also do test prep, SAT, ACT, all that fun stuff. And then we also do executive function coaching, which is it's like helping students with planning and task management and building agency on there. That's sort of our third thing. And I did want to let everyone know, because I'm assuming that this is mostly a lot of juniors, and a lot of juniors take APs. We're running some these subject specific final reviews, and so they're going to be offered in the from April 15th to April 24th. And we don't have every test, but we have a lot of tests on here. All your favorite histories in English and math and sciences. So there's some different dates on there. And what these are, they're live classrooms with there's practice that is only available through the final review and feedback. So it's a live session. And and you also, if you're not able to attend on that day, you can purchase it, and then there'll be a recording after there. So if this makes sense for you or your child, we got a QR code over here. Give that a scan, and that will take you into there. And then obviously sit tight and enjoy the rest of the today's presentation. But do look on that, because these I think are these are fun. I'll be teaching the U.S. history one. It'll be good. All right, so we're very excited to have Susan Knoppow in our uh, uh, as our speaker there. So Susan is the CEO and co-founder of WoW writing workshops, and has had lots of experience helping students with college essays. Has been a speechwriter for GM, a legend in the Detroit literary circles. Um, and certainly is one of the most qualified people to talk about this. So Susan, I will let you take over, and we're going to do a slightly awkward slide switch here.
Thanks, Matt. I will get
Yeah,
my
no worries.
slides up on the screen here. We will put this in slideshow, and now you can see my slides. Well, I actually had, here we go. So you've now
I don't see the
seen,
slides yet.
you don't, you don't see the slides. Okay,
No.
let's do this. I better
No
share
worries.
them then, right? I should share them first.
Yeah, now something's
Uh,
going. Okay,
Now you see us. All right,
great. Let's see.
here we go.
That's why I'm here to help.
Uh, just to make sure. Oh, it took me back to the beginning. Okay. So I'm Susan Knoppow. I'm from While Writing Workshop. This is my team. This is us. We are a small company on purpose. We are a boutique company. We work with families like yours, those of you who are here. And like Matt said, we also train our colleagues. We take school counselors and independent educational consultants through the same writing process that we take students through, and we teach them how to be stronger essay coaches as well. It's me. I had a business partner who started this business with me almost 16 years ago. She just retired. And we started because people always ask us about college essays. Like Matt said, I'm a writer. I've been a writer my whole career. I'm a teacher. And our writers, our writing coaches are writers and teachers. And we are very good at what we do. I'm an instructional designer. So what that means is I'm really good at creating programs that can teach people things, and then I can test it to make sure that it actually works. This works. We have taken thousands of students through our process. We have trained hundreds of counselors who have taken their own thousands of students through our process. So what I want to do today, I want to provide accurate information. My co-founder was a journalist, and this was her beat. Kim knew everything about college essays, and I have learned to know everything about college essays also. So in the process of talking to you, I want to share what I know. I want to answer your questions. I will anticipate a lot of them, and I will answer them up front. I want to make sure that we clear out the myths about college essays. So those are the don'ts, and I want to share the facts. So we said do's and don'ts. Those are the do's. And I want to share a little bit of our process so that you can see what you can do on your own and what we can help you with if you work with us or read our book. So what is a college essay? College essay is your story told in your voice, in your words. It's very important that you think about the fact that this is your story. This is the opportunity for a college admissions committee to learn something about a student that they can't find out from the rest of the application. So I want you to see this now. I'm going to show you again at the end. Don't worry about it. We have a free ebook that we want to share with you. This will give you some of what I'm going to talk about today. So I'll refer back to it and say, this is in the book. This is in the book. It's free. Want you to have it. So the myths, I'm going to go through these one by one. Myth number one, admissions officers don't really read them. Essays don't matter. Myth. Second myth, colleges are looking for specific traits. I have to show them that I am a certain type of person. Also a myth. Third myth, essays should be polished. Well, they should be clean. They should be free of terrible errors, but you should sound like a 17-year-old kid or whatever age you are as you're applying to college. You should not sound like a 45-year-old attorney. So be careful. Myth number four, that impressive topics stand out. Also a myth. You do not need to be unusual. You do not need to be different from everyone. You do not need to write about something extraordinary. You can be a normal kid going to a normal school and get into a magnificent school, get into a magnificent college, because a really strong college essay stands out because it demonstrates the writer's best character traits. Myth number five is don't write about and fill in the blank. Sports, religion, race, mental health, service trips. You've heard these all. It's not true. So I'm going to tell you a little bit more about it. Now, the myths came about because people were overcorrecting for errors that they were making in the way they wrote the essays. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. So where do we go? How about myth number one? Admissions officers don't read them. Not true. So for each of these myths, I'm going to quote an admissions officer at a prestigious college, Erica Sanders, University of Michigan, my alma mater. I am in Michigan. We are in Detroit. And Erica says, we read each writing opportunity. We want to put it in context with what we see academically. We want it to be specific, different, something we can't find elsewhere on your application. Now, when she says different, she doesn't mean you have to write something she's never seen before. Every piece of an application, almost without fail, is about quantitative data. What kind of classes have you taken? How many APs? Where did you go to school? Did your parents go to college? These are things you can measure and count. When she says different, what they're talking about is characteristics. It's hard to find out who you are beyond what you've accomplished. And what admissions officers are looking for is insight into who you are. Myth number two, they're looking for specific traits. I have to show that I'm a leader. I have to show that I'm resilient. I have to show that I'm open-minded. I have whatever you've heard, it doesn't matter. They want positive characteristics. They don't care which ones they are. It's really, really true. And I've asked. Every time I meet an admissions officer, and I'm about to see a bunch of them in another couple of weeks at a conference, I stop them and I ask them, what do you want me to tell my students? And they say, will you tell them to just answer the questions? Don't try so hard to impress me. Surprising to a lot of people. As Sean Felton, who until last year was the director of undergraduate admissions at Cornell, said, I don't have something specific in mind when I review essays. I don't know what I want to read, but I do want you to reflect to the best of your ability in your answer to any prompt so I can get to know you a little better as I review your application. They really want to know you. So, one of the things we do with our students, and we talk more about this in the book as well, is we want to lower the stakes, which seems totally counterintuitive, right? Lower the stakes, you get better results. When you don't try so hard and you can be yourself, it comes through. And our students tell us this all the time. We ask them when we're done. So, if you had to tell a friend about the process you just went through, what would you say? And they say, it was easier than I thought. I thought it would give me a headache. I'm finished. I feel good. Why? Because we lower the stakes. You can do that for yourself. It doesn't have to be so fraught. Next myth, essays should be polished. Duke University, you are a high school senior and you should sound like one, not your mom, not your dad, not your English teacher, and certainly not one of the most revered writers of all time. I wish I saw more of a thoughtful voice of a 17-year-old. I have heard this over and over and over from admissions officers. They really want to hear you, the real you. You can assume, and I'm going to assume that this is a group of parents and smart students, capable kids who go to good schools and get mostly good grades and are going to thrive in college, are likely to do well. That's the base. And I don't think you're going to be sloppy. And I don't think you're going to send in an essay that nobody has read. But when you start sending them around to everyone you know to get 100 opinions, it just polishes out the student voice. And that is one of the pet peeves of admissions officers, is seeing an over-polished essay that they can tell has been workshopped to within an inch of its life. So we advise you to do that. Next myth, impressive topics stand out. Johns Hopkins University, the essay does not have to be about something huge or some life-changing event. Students think they need a monumental experience, but the essay can be about something small. I will tell you that one of the best essays I ever worked on with a student, and this was years ago. Remember, I've been doing this for a long time. He wrote about being on a bike ride with his older brother. Now, the essay was not about the bike ride, and it was not about the brother. It was about this student's connection to his brother and how he had developed that connection as a younger brother. That it was about his positive traits. It showed that he was able to be comfortable in uncomfortable situations. It showed that he was a problem solver, that he was resilient. It was beautiful. And it sounded like a kid, like a smart kid, like a capable and articulate kid, but it sounded like a kid because what mattered was the characteristics. I'll tell you another story. A sister and brother, 1 year apart. The brother was first, and he says, I want to write about my family climbed Mount Kilimanjaro last summer. I said, that's amazing. Who gets to do that? And he thought this is what he needed to write his personal statement about. The Common Application, which is used for hundreds and hundreds of colleges and universities, has what's called a personal statement. I'm going to show you some of the prompts in a moment. He says, I need to write about this. And I said, cool, what happened? And he tells me a story about how he got near the summit and he didn't get all the way to the top because he has asthma and he couldn't breathe. And everyone who was with him said, you can't go any further. The air is too thin. Like, this is dangerous for you. So I said, so what positive characteristics are you illustrating here? Because I thought maybe there's something. I'm always curious and I'm always willing to be surprised. And he says, well, I don't know. I mean, I tried really hard. And I said, well, okay, I'm glad you tried really hard, but what do I learn about you? He couldn't answer my question. He ended up writing about something else. The next year, his sister shows up. She wants to write about climbing Mount Kilimanjaro because it's the most impressive and cool thing that's ever happened to her. All right, so we have the same conversation. She did make it to the summit, but that wasn't what she wanted to talk about. She got it more quickly. Her brother got it, but not right away. she understood that it was about characteristics. And she said, oh, well, we were climbing with another family and I helped my friend who was really having a hard time. I helped him and I slowed down with him. I could have been first. I was the strongest. I was the fastest. I slowed down and I helped him. And I gave up my opportunity to be the first one to summit because I wanted to make sure that he got there too. That was a story about characteristics. If that story had happened in her grandmother's backyard or on a hill near her house, it still would have been a great essay. So
Did she
number
just?
5, myth, yes.
Oh, sorry, it's a little aside. Did she just leave her asthmatic brother in the?
The asthmatic brother had to wait and didn't summit, and everybody then
Okay,
turned around and came back. No, she didn't leave him
I just
alone
imagined that this heroic story as she helps someone else, and then her brother's
and left
back
her
there.
brother. No, actually, what I wanted to say to the brother was, I would never write about this because it shows that your parents are being a little bit irresponsible by allowing you to do this. Because, like, it sounds like you could have died, but we didn't go there. Yeah.
Sure.
So, but his essay actually, he got it. He wrote a beautiful essay. It was wonderful, and he did get into a great school. So it all worked out.
Great.
I think he's still sad that he didn't make it to the summit of Kilimanjaro, but what can I say?
There's always next time.
There's always next. No. So the 5th myth I want to talk about is what you shouldn't write about. I am sure anybody who has looked into college essays, who's been on any website, who has listened to any podcasts, TikToks, read blogs, whatever, wherever it is that you get your information has heard. Don't write about sports. Don't write about religion. Don't write about race. Don't write about depression. Don't write about service trips. I mean, the list of what you shouldn't do is so long that you couldn't write anything. And I talk about this with counselors all the time. And I say, look, your students, for the most part, are regular, normal people doing regular, normal things. And these are regular, normal things. The problem is the reason you're hearing don't do this is because it's been done badly, very badly, for many, many, many years. I listen to all the noise. I listen to the don't do this and don't do this and don't do this and don't do this so that you don't have to, because it's really not going to help you. It's just going to stress you out. And like I said, we try to lower the stakes because we get better results that way. So anything that starts making you feel anxious, shh, set it aside. Really, really set it aside. And remember what I'm telling you about characteristics. The problem isn't writing about soccer. The problem isn't writing about your youth group. The problem isn't writing about your identity. The problem isn't writing about your service trip. The problem is that it hasn't been done well. And the assumption is that it's the topic that's the problem. The problem is that there's no positive characteristics. It's a story about winning, making the winning goal. That's not a characteristic, that's an accomplishment. So I'm telling you, any topic can be effective because what really matters is process, having a plan, and keeping a schedule. And I'm going to tell you what I mean by that. The process is how we do it. That I'm going to share some of our process with you. The plan is about you. Who are you? What can you do? And the schedule is making sure you get it done. So this is our process. We have a 10-step process. It's what WOW is known for. 10 steps to your college essay. The first 6 steps. This will make more sense in a moment, but I wanted you to see the whole process. The first 6 steps are all about content. What are you going to write about? Why have you chosen this? When I talk to admissions officers, like I said, I think I said this before, and they say, answer the question. The piece that people are missing is they don't know why they have chosen a particular topic. Well, it's the most impressive thing that's ever happened to me. They want to know how unique I am. And I say, not in the prompt. It doesn't say, tell us the most unique and interesting thing that's ever happened to you. Or it's really creative and interesting and unusual. And I say, it's not part of the question. It's not there. If you answer the question, I'll tell you, I had the opportunity, a total serendipity, to take a cab from a conference to the airport with the dean of admissions from Harvard. I didn't even know who he was until we were halfway there. I knew his name, but I hadn't ever met him before. And we were talking about other things. I'm in a choir. We were talking about music. We were talking about I'm from Detroit. We had this whole lovely conversation. And I find out as we're getting closer, why were you at this hotel and what were you doing? I was at a conference. Oh, I was at a college fair. He's telling me all this. And I said, oh, what college? And he says, Harvard. I'm like, oh, yeah. Okay. Should have recognized you. But I said to him, okay, we have like 10 minutes till we get to the airport. Let me ask you the question I ask every admissions officer I ever meet. What do you want me to tell my students? And I got another variation on, when you tell them to answer the question, what he was telling me is that the year before, last year they shortened the word count for some of their supplemental essays. So a lot of schools use this common application, and then they have supplemental essays, which are unique to that school. He said, we shortened the word count because we didn't want them to feel like these had to be huge essays. We just want them to answer the questions. We're trying to learn about them. So that's process. Plan. Where are you applying? What does your summer look like? When are you going to work on essays? How motivated are you? Are you a procrastinator? Do you need extra time? Are you anxious about this? Do you have support? Are you working with anyone? That's the plan. And finally, the schedule. Now, the schedule is one of our magic tricks. I am very proud of our schedules. We start with, and you can do this. You can create a schedule for yourself. I mean, you can work with me, you can have my schedule, but you should create a schedule for yourself, however you end up doing this. We say that the common application essay, the first essay is a great teaching essay. You learn about writing application essays. You learn how to read a prompt. You learn how to think about topics. You learn how to think about revision. And so when you're doing this, we say pick 4 weeks when you have time. Don't start it and put it away and take it back out and put it away. Find a few weeks when you're going to be available. You can still be working or doing whatever it is that you're doing. Go see your friends, go away for the weekend if you want to, but don't start and then go away for the summer and come back and finish it. Momentum is your friend when it comes to doing a task like this. Now, what's interesting, I want to show you a little bit about our schedule. Week 1 is about picking your topic. If we have coaches, you talk to your coach, whatever. That's how we work. So whoever's going to be helping you brainstorm, you want to do that in a condensed amount of time. Don't spend 3 weeks talking about topics. It'll just make your head spin. For us, week 2, and you'll see this in the book as well, week 2 is about developing the content further. So what we suggest to you, again, you can do this yourself, or you can do it with me, or you can do it in your school, or you can do it with someone else that you're working with. Week 2 is about stepping outside of the essay and really focusing more on the content. We have writing exercises we use for this. But what happens in week 1, I can tell you all sorts of things about picking topics, and I'm going to do that in a moment. I'm going to give you some tips on that. And you'll have this aha. Oh my gosh, I get it. Kind of fades. Week 2 is when you solidify that, when you really clarify, this is what I'm writing about and this is why. So however you need to do that, I really strongly suggest not to just write a draft, revise, write a draft, revise. That happens for us in weeks 3 and 4. It's a more conventional review process, but you need to solidify that aha moment you have when you figure out your topic. You need some time to test. Ask yourself, why am I writing this? How does it answer the question? Am I really showing something positive? Not, is this unique? Has no one ever written that before? That's not the right question. So really take the time to make sure this is really a game of subtlety and nuance. Yes, you can write about a topic everyone's written about, and you can write about it in a way that will help you stand out because you really understand that demonstrating positive characteristics is the point. Or for example, you're writing an essay, there's a lot of ones, they're called why us essays. Why do you want to go to the school? Why do you want to major in this topic? In whatever. You need to ask yourself why. You need to take a pause from your first draft and make sure that you're asking yourself why and that you've clarified it, and then revise. When I said before, content is first right here, and then we get into structure, and finally in polish. I want to take you through the first few steps and show you how it works. So step 1, understand the prompt. Step 1, understand the prompt. How does the essay fit into the application? What do readers already know about you? For the parents who are here with us today, This is how you can help your student, not by telling them what to write, but by helping them understand the prompt. This is where students mess up all the time. I've seen it for 15 years. I have taught hundreds and hundreds of counselors and independent consultants. And when they learn this, they say, oh, okay, yeah, I need to do a better job of that. We're assuming that because you can read, that you really understand the prompt. It's not enough. You got to think about it. You got to really dig in and make sure you understand who is reading it. What do they already know about me? They know about my accomplishments. What else do I want them to know? I want them to know about my characteristics. Now, when I say, what do they already know about me? I don't mean that you can't write about tennis if you're a tennis player, but they know you play tennis. What they don't know is what kind of person you are. Let's say you teach tennis lessons, or you're the team captain, or you're not the team captain. You're the one who does everything behind the scenes. What kind of person are you? And if that happens to occur on a tennis court, that's good. So here is the Common App personal statement, has this introductory paragraph that will not show up anywhere that you look for the prompts except in the Common App itself. And I think this is the most important paragraph. And so I show it to my students all the time, more than even the 6 prompts, which I'm going to show you in a minute. The essay demonstrates your ability to write clearly and concisely on a selected topic and helps you distinguish yourself in your own voice. Remember I said your story, your voice, your words? What do you want the readers of your application to know about you apart from courses, grades, and test scores? Choose the option that best helps you answer that question and write an essay of no more than 650 words using the prompt to inspire and structure your response. So here are the prompts. That's the introductory paragraph. Most people go straight to these prompts and then they go straight to writing. I'm saying, read that paragraph, look at these prompts, and take them apart. We really parse the prompts. We take them apart in great detail. This also, you don't have to remember this. This is in the book too. I'm going to show you what I mean through one of these 6 prompts. Number 7, share an essay on the topic of your choice. I have to say, in 15 years, I have had like 2 students do this successfully and use prompt 7 because it is easier to answer a question than just to write out into the atmosphere. That's been our experience. We say that you're balancing the prompt, the one of these 6, an anchor story, which I'll talk about in a moment, and the characteristics. So we've highlighted in 2 different colors. What happened? Why does it matter? What happened? Tell me a story. Some students have a background, an identity, an interest, or a talent. Those are 4 very, very different things. A background, my background, an identity, who I see myself as, an interest, I'm interested in cupcakes, or I'm interested in horses, or I'm interested in the history of high heel shoes, or a talent. Oh, I'm a wonderful baker. I'm a talented clarinet player. I am the best, soccer player at my school. That is so meaningful, they believe their application would be incomplete without it. If this sounds like you, then please share your story. So that's a what happened. Tell me a story about a background and identity, interest, or talent. Why does it matter? Because it's so important. So really spend some time with the prompts. You don't have to pick one. You can come up with ideas for lots of them. This is what we do in step 2, brainstorm ideas. Choose one of those 6 or try several of them. We have our students come to us with 4 ideas before we even talk about topics. We give them a lot of background on how to choose a topic. And then we say, okay, come to your conversation. You're going to have a meeting with your coach. Any of you who've had any kind of tutoring or coaching, you're going to come to a meeting, but you're only going to come to a meeting after you've done some work yourself. This is another thing that we find is absolutely essential. If you sit down with anybody, so parents, if you sit down with your student and you tell them what to write about, or you say to them, hey, what's really amazing about you? What can you write about? We shut down. We all do, not just students. So what we say is, we say to students, and I encourage you to do this on your own too, think about the prompts. You might start with a prompt you really like. You might start with a story you think is really important. Being the drum major has been the most important experience of my high school career. Or I thought I needed to be a soccer star, but it turned out that when I didn't make the varsity team, I took up knitting, and it's been really a great creative outlet. I mean, I'm making these things up as I go along, but what I'm telling you is that might be your story. Some students say, I need them to know that I'm an amazing problem solver. I look like a quiet little person who just sits in the background, but I am the best problem solver you've ever seen. It doesn't matter as long as you get the prompt, the story, and the characteristics in balance. So, most ideas that my students come to me with, I've heard them before. They happened when they were 7. They are cliche in some way. It doesn't matter because they're conversation starters. Because I know that what I'm looking for is this balance of prompt, story, and characteristics. And I'm, like I said, I'm curious and I am willing to be surprised. So my students can start with anything and we can find a story that's effective. An effective story is what you're looking for, not something that no one's ever heard of before. So then we say, step 3, focus on theme. Theme includes what happened and why does it matter. For any prompt that's not the Common App personal statement, you still need to know before you start writing, what am I going to write about and why? Let me use a why us essay as an example. You might be applying to a school that says, why do you want to come here? And why do you want this major? And you start talking about you love the basketball team and you've lived near this university your whole life and you're so excited, it's the most amazing place. They already know that wasn't the question. The question is, why do you want to study history at our university? Or why do you want to live in the type of living learning community that we have at our college? They want to know that you know something. So before we start writing, we tell our students, make sure you know what you're going to talk about and why. Step 5 is the first draft. Step 5 is the first draft. There's a lot of work to do before you start writing. And if you do that work up front, then you are more likely to write a draft that works, and you are more likely to finish what you started and to feel confident in your work. So, college essay dues based on what I've just said. And I'm going to answer all of your questions, whatever questions you have, and I'll make them up if I need to because I know what the questions are. Follow the instructions. They're in the prompt. Answer the prompt. Write about yourself. Show reflection. They want to know who you are. They want to know that you know something about who you are and how you got here. Be authentic. Be yourself. You are way good enough. You are so good enough. Highlight one or more positive traits. By all means, write your own essay. One of the things we're very proud of and that we teach in our training for counselors as well is we don't edit. We don't edit. We are coaches. I will reflect on my students' writing. I am a good writing teacher, and I can teach a lot by asking questions and by reflecting on what I see. And my coaches also are just like that. We know how to help students bring out the best of who they are. So use your own voice, use your own words, be yourself, because yourself is what they're looking for. And the more authentic you are, the more likely you are to feel confident about your essay and feel more confident in your chances of getting in. Because really, if you have a good list and you trust yourself, your essay can really help. So next, the don'ts. Remind you, don't focus on someone else. Don't emphasize accomplishments. It doesn't have to be the most amazing thing you've ever done. Don't be negative. Don't write what you think colleges want. Don't try to game the system. Don't plagiarize or use AI. I could talk about AI for an hour. If you have questions about that, I'd be happy to answer them. Don't imitate sample essays. Please, please, please. Look, all of those sample essays, they were created in order to sell books and newspapers and to get you to click on websites. Yeah, maybe those students got into fill in the blank college. I don't doubt that it's true. But to say that if you write an essay like mine, you too can get in. No, it's not true. So I really encourage students to ignore samples. I know that people do read samples, so I say take them with a grain of salt. Often my colleagues will say, well, why don't you show sample essays? And I say, because essays don't exist in a vacuum. Essays do not walk into an admissions office by themselves. They're there within the context of an application. So unless I can see every grade, every score, every letter of recommendation, what type of school it is, all of that, I don't really know how the essay fit into the application. So I want to show you the do's one more time. Oops. Well, I guess we're going on to the book. So I want you to see here. I want to show these one more time. Answer the prompt. Write about yourself. Reflect. Be authentic. Be positive. Write it yourself. I'm not saying you can't get input or feedback, but when I have a student who I see a draft that looks dramatically different from the previous draft, I don't accuse anyone. I say, well, who helped you with this? Oh, my uncle was over last Tuesday and he's an amazing writer and he edits a famous publication and he helped me. And I say, sounds great. I would like to see the version that you did yourself. And I'll comment on that. I understand why you got that help. Too polished, too much. And he already went to college. He doesn't need to get into college and he's not helping you. In fact, it's a flag. If it looks too polished, admissions officers don't like that. So here is my gift to you, our book, How to Write an Effective College Application Essay. Kim Lifton is my former business partner and my co-founder. This word effective, I want you to really remember that. That's the word we use, not how to write the best college application essay in the world, not how to stand out among the crowd of everybody on the planet, how to write an effective college application essay. And we looked far and wide, talked to a huge range of people, got the tips that I just shared with you today. And I feel really good about this book. And it has helped a lot of people as they have applied to college. We get a lot of great feedback. So it's been a pleasure. I'm happy to answer any questions at all. I will stop sharing my slides and then you can just see our faces.
Yeah, thanks, Susan. Um, excuse me. That was very helpful. So if you have any questions, we have the Q&A chat on there. We've already answered a couple offline. And if you have any questions about like um, any of the slides or the recording of this, they will be shared afterwards for sure. And so we'll reach out with a email in the next couple of days. I mean, I guess the question on my mind is, you mentioned the AI thing. I think, there's uh, I just signed up for a webinar that Adobe's going to give about how college is going to change because of AI, and I'm attending to be skeptical of these things because I for one have not been terribly impressed with the results for a lot of the applicant having
Yeah.
played around with that. So I mean, I guess certainly would never recommend that type into Gemini,
Don't let
right,
ChatGPT write your essay.
right. But I mean, is there any value in like in a brainstorming sense, or is it just better to not let the algorithm
It's
tell you what
such
to
a
do?
good question. So I'm going to answer that in two parts. Part one is if the college essay, especially we're talking about the Common App personal statements, we're talking about personal statements, which this advice also goes for the University of California personal insight questions. It goes for any question that asks you to tell about a time when you faced a challenge or you learned something new about yourself or whatever, something personal. You are not out there in the internet on the interwebs, right? You are not out there. There is no me out there. So to go out there to look for what I should write about myself is a false exercise. I tried it. When ChatGPT like exploded a couple of years ago, I'm like, let's see what happens. So I put in so much information about, what I wanted to write about and my characteristics I was trying to illustrate and the prompt and just I knew it was not going to be great, but I wanted to see what I got. And it was so generic that the amount of work I would have had to do to make it personal was ridiculous. Like, why would I even want to do that? So then another thing I've seen, and you're going to see a lot of this, families who are going to see a ton of this because I was at our national convention a few months ago in Los Angeles, and this was everywhere. AI essay tools that do all the things that I teach my colleagues not to do. They just do it faster and they do it deeper. So, thing number one, brainstorming, like you said, Matt. So they say you can answer these 100 questions and take your resume and everything you've ever done and put it into an AI, and it'll send you back ideas for what you could write about. Now, my colleagues, for years, I have been telling ICs and counselors, you are brainstorming too much. You are wearing your students out. You're asking them 1,000 questions because you're trying to find the hidden jewel that is somewhere buried. And if you only asked enough questions, you would find it. Now, philosophically, that goes against everything I teach. It goes against everything we do with our students. So when I saw these tools that can do it faster and really churn the information, and I looked at the ideas that came out, I'm like, and what's that? It's not any better than anything we were getting before. So that's number one. Number two is the tools that we're starting to see say that you can do essay reviews more effectively by putting a student's essay into an AI and getting feedback. Well, unless that is a completely private proprietary system, first of all, students, do not put your college essays out on the internet. Please don't do that. This is your private work. Don't do that. I don't think it's a good idea in general, but
You're helping other students, right?
What?
You're helping. Well, you're
You're
training the
helping other
algorithm to
students,
be more
right?
like you.
So
Eh,
what I say about reviews is, yeah, you can use spell check, you can use Grammarly. I mean, but sometimes it's wrong. So, I have a healthy sense of skepticism, but to give you like, you should rewrite this sentence in this way, it just feels very false. It feels unnecessary. And the results I saw weren't any better than an average counselor can do. Like, you're not getting better results. It is a solution in search of a problem. The one, and I'll say that again, it is a solution in search of a problem. Everybody wants to use it. So we're going to find ways. Colleges are using AI for lots of things, but not about college essays. You are going to learn to use AI in school. It is here. It is part of our world. I'm not like a Neanderthal, but this is a task that is not that hard. And I feel like AI is making it seem more complicated. The one place I can suggest that people use any kind of artificial intelligence for essays is for research, but check your work, which is what I've always said. If you ask your cousin who went to, the University of Michigan, what they loved about it, you better check that that professor they loved is still there. And you better check that that program they had an internship is still there before you write about it in your why do you want to come here essay. Same goes for AI. AIs make things up. So before you, or they say that, Nobel laureate Joe Smith was teaching physics. Maybe he was a visiting professor. You have to check your information. So just, if you use it for that, I would say use it with a grain of salt. It's fun, it's exciting, it's cool. I don't think there's any great use for it in college essays, at least not yet.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I mean, I get the summaries on my emails. Like it's a 2 sentence email. Like, would you like me to summarize it for you? I'm like, no, I think I'm
No,
fine.
I'm good.
I think I can read. So as
Good.
we were,
Read those
talking
three
about
paragraphs.
the Q&A filled up great. Yeah, I think everyone was so enraptured with your presentation. Took them a while to actually start typing here. So I'm going to read off some of these. We got some good questions here. So should the essays be written about personal experiences and then connect those experiences to a broader positive theme or why we should be accepted? Didn't paraphrase that very well, but the
Understand it.
like, yeah,
So tell me if this sounds like the answer to the question that you think you're asking. No. It does not say how has this experience prepared you to be a math major. It doesn't say how has this experience prepared you to be a college student. That is understood. Now, I will say, to the credit of my students, it feels like you're supposed to wrap it up with a bow because that is one of the things you learn in English class in school. It's one of the things you learn when you're studying for the APs. It's one of the, tell
in
them
conclusion.
the purpose of this. Let me beat you over the head with this. I understand that. I'm not complaining about it. This is not that. You can tell your story and your positive characteristics will shine through because that is the reason you're telling the story. That's when I said that in that week 2 with our students. So week 1, there's the aha, oh my God, I get it. It's great. I'm wonderful. And then in week 2, sometimes it falls away. The writing exercises we do when we get our students to write outside the essay, we have a couple of really special exercises we do. That's when it solidifies that aha. And so there is no reason to conclude it, to have a bigger purpose. It's not necessary. And you don't have a lot of words. So we suggest that you use them to be talking about yourself. It's a great question,
Yeah.
but it's not necessary.
Okay. Yeah, I appreciate it. And I realized that I almost forgot. Like, so we're gonna launch a little poll here about Appleruth and anything that any interest you have with it. For all the fun stuff we do. It's just launched there. But we got a good long list of
All right. Ask me
yeah,
anything.
yeah. Okay. So Elena was wondering about how important is voice or tone in the essay, and how can you convey that in the
Ah,
essay?
so good. Voice. So we start out with an exercise we call morning writing. In morning writing, you set a timer for 10 minutes. And there's more instructions in this. I have like pages of instructions, but you can do this. In morning writing, you set a timer for 10 minutes and you write about your morning from the time you woke up until it beeps. And why do I do that? Because in step 4, I have a writing exercise where I want students to free write in their own voice. And now I have 2 examples of what they sound like when they're not trying. The morning, everybody woke up. The only time we had a problem with that exercise is Kim did a workshop with a group of, they were teen mothers at a high school, and they hadn't gone to sleep because they had babies. And I mean, that was like the most unusual situation. It was the most unusual school we had been to, but I'm saying it not to make fun of it, but if you went to sleep, you had to have woken up, whether you fell asleep for 10 minutes or 7 hours. So it's not even low stakes, it's 0 stakes because voice is critical, absolutely critical, and you can't manufacture it. And parents, you can't make it sound like your kid. Kim tried once, we both tried once to say, what if we tried to write like our kids? And the kids said, that doesn't sound anything like me. We're like, yes, it does. And they said, no, it sounds like you pretending to be me. So if
No one
I
likes an
can't do
impression
it,
of themselves.
can't do it right. Exactly.
Great. All right. So another interesting we got here. So what about a student that writes really well, really
Yeah.
polished essays? Is there a risk about sounding like an adult?
No, 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 no. So a polished student sounds like a polished student. I can tell you from personal experience, I have 3 children. The youngest is about to graduate from college. They have all written college essays. They have all written all sorts of essays. They are all English majors. I don't know what this says about their future careers, but they're all English majors. They're all beautiful writers. And as they have gone along the way, as middle schoolers, high schoolers, college students, post college, their writing has become more sophisticated. They sounded like really great 17-year-old writers when they were 17. And I have yet to meet a student who, even the most exceptional students, not just, my own kids, I'm proud of them, but the really extraordinary ones, the ones who are going to go to Sarah Lawrence and study writing, the ones who are going to have creative writing majors, they sound like kids. They just sound like really strong writers. And that will stand out, but they don't have to worry that they're over polished.
That's good. If we're, you try to find the sweet spot there, right?
Right.
Okay. So I got someone who's looking for, due to the extreme competitiveness, what extent would you suggest changes in what you presented to someone who's going applying to Ivy League schools?
None. So my
Okay.
answers are very
Confident.
short. No,
Yes.
don't. None.
I mean, I just
I'll tell you
I
what I
just
mean.
asked the question.
It's a good question. I will tell you
Yeah.
what I mean. And I don't mean to be flippant, but I have answered these questions before and I feel really strongly that so when a student is applying to an Ivy League school, if that student is qualified for the Ivy League school, to be perfectly honest, they're probably not going to get in because nobody gets in. It's impossible math. We have a whole chapter in our book called Impossible Math because the numbers don't work. And it is becoming, and I was just looking at data a couple days ago. I mean, applications are up, admissions, the percentages are down. There's a number called yield, and it's what schools use to measure how, what percentage of students actually come based on who's been accepted. It's
Mhm.
a numbers game, and it is stacked against students. And a college essay can help, but it's not going to vault you over the wall. So thinking that if I wrote a stronger essay, or I wrote about a different topic, or I focused on a different characteristic, my students who get into Ivy League schools follow the same process as my students who go to the university of fill in the name of your state, the one that like no one outside of your state has heard of. So, and I don't say this to to disregard the question, but when students follow a process and focus on positive characteristics and tell stories that they feel comfortable with and answer, remember, there are all these supplemental essays. If you're applying to MIT, they're going to ask you a lot of questions. If you're going to apply to Harvard, they're going to ask you a bunch of questions. That's a big part of this, is how you answer those questions. And if you have answers, that's great. I'll give you an example. Families call us all the time. We're based in Michigan. I work with students all over the world, but we're based in Michigan. They know that. And they say, my student wants to go to the Ross Business School at the University of Michigan. How many of your students get in? And I say the same percentage as everybody else's. Not very many, because Ross doesn't take a lot of students. It's a direct admit business program. And and one of their questions is about a business problem you have solved or would solve. And if you don't have an answer, they know. If you're not the kind of kid who thinks like that, you don't have an answer to that question. So we say that if you go through the process and you're authentic and honest, you will have the right answers. I know it seems like you have to like suspend your disbelief, but it's true.
Yeah. So do you coach in business solving problems?
We ask them really good questions, and if
Yeah.
they don't have answers, then we let them write about the thing they want to write about.
Yeah.
This is one of those questions. It's like students who want to apply to the University of Chicago, they have all these crazy creative prompts. And I have great exercises for answering those questions. When students say, well, I don't know what to say, then I say, then you should go to the University of Chicago. You're not going to like it there. If these questions make your head explode,
Yeah.
not the right school for you.
Gotcha.
So, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So Heather's asking you a question. I think this is partially going back to some of the slides about the process. And
Mhm.
so she's asking if about 3 to 4 weeks per essay, or does it go faster once as soon as it completed a first essay?
Oh yeah, no, totally faster. So 3 to 4, that's a great question. 3 to 4 weeks for the first essay. And then in week 4, we start the first school. Then it's 3 to 4 weeks per school. I could show you one of our crazy schedules of, it's like a tiered process. So week 1, so week 4 of the Common App, we're working on activities and the first school. Then the next week, we're brainstorming for the next school, but writing drafts for the first school. And then we're moving on like that. So it takes, generally, if a student applies to 4 schools, let's say, that's our most common number, because by the time they've applied to 4 schools, we have helped them write every kind of essay they're ever going to need. That probably takes 3 months or so to do all of it.
I got a fun question here that could probably go on for 20 minutes that we don't have.
I'll be really
Uh,
short. I'll be
no,
so
yeah.
short.
What are different red flags you've seen in essays?
I had a kid who talked about how much he hated his father and said, I think this is
Was his
not,
father the dean?
his father was not the dean. However, and
Okay.
it was funny because I tried to get him to not write about it. And he was very insistent. And he got in, and he now has like a PhD in like astrophysics or something. I think he was so smart. He was so extraordinary that it didn't matter. Other red flags. People say you shouldn't write about mental health. No, you shouldn't write about, I am anxious. I am so anxious. I am incredibly anxious. So I had a student, this is more than 30 seconds, but I think this is a great example. A student who wanted to write about her hospitalization for an eating disorder. She had written this essay in school. And I thought, oh, I feel so bad. Like, you already worked on this. 95% of this, 98% of the essays I see that people worked on in school, we need to retrofit in some way. And it's not because English teachers aren't amazing. I love English teachers. She wanted to write about her experience in a hospital. And I said, why, right? I said, why do you want to say this? Well, because when I first went in, I didn't want to be there. I was so mad at my parents. And by the time I left, I understood why I was there, why it was important, how I had changed. I said, aha, you changed. See, this is why I'm curious. And I'm willing to be surprised, because I could have shut her down and said, no, red flag. It turned out that after she got out of this hospital and had this really intense experience, she started mentoring and other peers. And she was part of a campaign and she'd done some videos. That was a story. She's going to have an eating disorder her whole life, whether it's bothering her or it's causing problems for her or not, right? She may be in remission for the rest of her life. She may have problems, but it was not a red flag, because she ended up writing about how she used her experience to advocate for others. If she had stayed in the hospital story, I would have told her, absolutely not, don't do it. Political diatribes. You can write about politics even now, but it's not a polemic. You're not there to convince anyone of anything. But if you want to say, I organized a rally in my school, or I wrote a letter to the editor, or I worked at the polls, that's fine. Because if you're talking about your characteristics, it can work.
All right, got a long one here. It's a paragraph. I'm just going to say it verbatim.
Okay, go.
I'm having a hard time. I don't have Gemini to summarize it for me right on this Zoom chat. All right, I'm thinking about a student's essay about overcoming struggles that might relate to another family member, perhaps due to a parent's illness or other significant situation. I want to ensure that the focus remains on the student and their experiences rather than shifting to another family member's story. Um, I'd appreciate any guidance you can provide about how to maintain this balance. It's important to acknowledge the interconnectedness of family experiences.
Right. So what I would say to the student is, I would always go back to the prompt. What question are they trying to answer? Is this about a challenge they've overcome? Is it about an identity? I live in a culture where people don't talk about illness, but I've learned that I have to do X. Is it about, it's been really challenging for me because I have to come home every day after school and help take care of my, my dad. I mean, it could be anything, right? So it's not about, so I understand that importance of like balancing what the student's writing about. But I think you need to go back to the beginning and say, what are they talking about? What's this? We say, when we want to look for a story, we say, tell me about a time when, whatever it is they want to say. So they might say, I'm struggling with a parent's illness. Tell me, and I want to write about how resilient I am. Tell me about a time with your parent's illness that you really bounced back from something difficult. You were resilient. Now I have a story. Oh, last Tuesday, I had to go to the pharmacy and they didn't have my dad's medicine, and I had to figure out where to go to get it. And, da, da, da. And now I have a story that's about the student, that's respectful of the parent as another individual, but it's really about the characteristics. And the other thing I would say, and I have had this conversation with a lot of students, students sometimes think they have to write about the most challenging thing in their life, especially when it comes to parents. They don't have to. Sometimes it's too soon to reflect. If they can't reflect yet, they're still in it. I had a student who came to me and said, everyone's telling me I need to write about my dad. He died last year. I said, oh God, no, I'm so sorry. No, 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 no. Do you want to write about this? Oh, people are saying, they should know. I said, there's an additional information section on the application. If you want to say, my father died last year and I have had a heck of a time getting through high school, and that's a fact you want them to know, there's a place for that. Are you ready to reflect on this? And she cried and she's like, no, I don't really want to. And I said, then don't do it. It's okay. So there is that balance, reflection and family respect. And it's a good question. I think that you have to go back to what the student is trying to convey in the story and realize that it's not about the family member.
Great. Yeah, I think that's great. All right, got time for one more question here. This is obviously written from a parent. My kid doesn't like to brag and thinks nothing he's doing is worth mentioning for college essays. I'm sure you've heard this one before. I how do we help him?
How do you help them? I love this question. I'm glad it's the last one. Your child is a fish. Your child is swimming in water and doesn't see the water, doesn't recognize the water, doesn't know there's any water around them. They don't have to recognize the water. They don't have to realize how amazing. And remember, lower the stakes. So what we say, it's funny. The book, when we first wrote our book, we dedicated it to Kim's sister. Why did we, and their son is now like a very much an adult. Why? Because he was applying to college and she said, so what should I do? And we said, you should go away. It's not for you. And she said, are you crazy? I can't help it. I'm going to get involved. What should I do? So we said, oh, okay, we're going to give you a job. So parents, your job is to help your student recognize their positive characteristics, not their best characteristics, not why they're amazing, just what's positive about them. How do they behave in all situations? I am the same person here with you today as I am helping my kids move into a new apartment, as I am when I'm working with my staff, as I am when I'm in my garden. I'm the same person. What kind of person am I? So that's what you can help your students recognize. What are some of your positive characteristics? And then you just need to help them find a story that illustrates it, and they will stand out because most kids don't understand the prompt. I will end with that.
That sounds great. Susan, I appreciate all your time. I definitely learned a lot more about this was well process and stuff. And so I thank everyone for sticking around. And you all have a good night. Thanks so
Thank
much.
you. Good night.